We hope you enjoy listening to this podcast of St. Louis on the Air, brought to you by University College at Washington University, with undergraduate and graduate programs part-time, evening, and online. University College at Washington University, offering world-class education within reach.
Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Don Marsh. Someone once wrote, "Where is the good in goodbye or the fair in farewell?" Well, that's where we are as we end this week, the end of an era here at St. Louis Public Radio. We're saying goodbye to senior producer Mary Edwards. Now, even if you have never met Mary, if you're a regular listener, she has undoubtedly touched your life over the 44 years she's been with the station. She's been a producer, editor, and passionate champion of the arts. And now, the next chapter includes her latest passion, her grandchildren. Retirement will give her a lot more time with them. Mary, this is going to be a tough segment.
Well, thanks for doing it, Don.
Well, thank you for doing it. Thanks for 44 years. What are you thinking right now?
I'm excited. It's sad, but for those who haven't heard, I'm not totally severing my ties with the station. I'll still be doing the St. Louis Symphony broadcasts on 23 Saturday nights at 8 o'clock, by the way, tune in. And also New Year's Eve and a couple other little projects. And I've already made arrangements to be back here next Thursday, so I'm not going to be far.
Well, that's what everybody here who knows you thinks of you, is the fact that you won't leave if a job is unfinished, and you work until the last nail has been hammered into that house. And your work ethic is something that so many people point to. Where did that come from?
My parents.
Yeah.
I was raised by people. They grew up during the Depression, and they always instilled in us that you did more than what was expected of you. You know, if they ask you to do one thing, you do more. And they gave that example. My father worked his entire career at Southwestern Bell. My mother was a teacher. Took some time off because back then you couldn't have kids and be a teacher. They made you quit, and then she went back to teaching. And I remember I was in junior high when she went back to teaching, and she was always the last to leave, would bring things home, and we saw how hard she worked.
Well, work that you'll be doing still for us with the symphony is not really work at all for you, is it? The symphony is your
No,
job.
that's because I got into this from the classical music end. When I was 9 years old, the second week of my flute class in elementary school, I came home and said, when I grow up, I want to be a flute teacher or a music teacher like Mrs. Leek. And stuck with that, and was finishing my degree in music education at UMSL when this radio station appeared.
Appeared? How did it appear?
Well, they were building. When I first came to UMSL in January of '72, they were still building it at the other end of the hallway. It went on the air June 2nd. Yeah, and ironically, my mother that I mentioned before, for some reason, she thought that I should get involved with it. And I was a listener from day one because I was fascinated by a station that played mostly classical music, which was my music of choice.
The staff here, and I mentioned this at a reception the other night, has always wanted you to come on the air and play your flute for us at some point as one of our segments, but you won't do it.
Well, you know why?
No.
Playing in a studio that's made for broadcast is about the worst place that you could play a flute. And these days, I play my flute in my church, and it's a wonderful building that was designed by Theodore Link, who did Union Station. The acoustics are great. So if folks want to hear me play my flute,
they have to go to church.
They have to go to church.
All right. Well, that's not a bad idea.
I played in the Kirkwood Symphony for many years after college and before things got complicated with kids and evening events, but
and working very long days at St. Louis
right, and
Public
it didn't.
Radio.
The rehearsals, concerts, and fun drives didn't always mesh.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we have a number of people who want to say goodbye to you, and we have recorded some things, and we're going to start with some colleagues and find out what they have to say about Mary Edwards departing. Let's listen to the colleagues.
Hi, Mary. This is Robert. I cannot really sum up in 15 to 20 seconds what you have meant to me and the station. I have never met someone who is as dedicated and as passionate to excellence as you.
This is Evie. One of the things that will always stand out to me about Mary is her commitment to both getting the job done and making sure everyone else on our team is able to be successful as well. I'll never forget how late she stayed with me one Friday night when I was struggling with an article on immigration policy and just really wanting to make sure I got it right.
Hey Mary, Aaron here. You raised me in this radio production world, and it is an exciting one. I'll never forget from my first days as an intern here, watching the live show take off, and I know you won't forget that feeling either. So send us your brownies if you and your grandson ever have any left over. And here's to the next chapter.
Hi Mary, this is Alex, and what can I say? It's been 44 years at St. Louis Public Radio. That's remarkable, and the impact that you've had on this organization will last forever. Thank you for everything.
Our staffers, Alex Hoyer, Aaron Dorr, Evie Hemphill, and Robert Peterson. What do you think?
It's a wonderful bunch to work with.
Yeah.
And of course, with you, that's just the icing on the cake.
Well, I was hoping you would get to that sooner or later. Now let's leave it and move on. Talk about your grandkids, because that is your real passion these days. I can't number a number of conversations we've had about your grandkids.
You know, it's funny. My sister-in-law, when she had her first grandchild, she was trying to express to me how neat it is having grandchildren. And I just thought, well, of course it's neat. But I understood when Hudson was born. You know, put that little babe in the arms, and I didn't have to go through 9 months of pregnancy or 31 hours of labor. But it's just a great feeling. And then the second one was born 16 months ago, and the other thing I'm so grateful about, that I have enjoyed, is seeing what great parents my son and daughter-in-law are to these kids.
That's got to be very gratifying to see. I've often said in this program, as the twig is bent, so grows the tree. Well, they're good parents because they had good parents, so that makes a heck of a difference.
But I actually think they're doing a better job, so
I doubt that.
That's gratifying.
You know, you and I have talked about this, and we've talked about it on the air, this whole grandparenting thing. I'm not a grandparent, but I know people like you and many people who are, and there's just something happens to people when they become grandparents. Can you identify what it is?
I don't really know. It's just a great feeling. I watched them the other night, and I put the baby to bed, and when he snuggled down in my arms, I thought, oh, it doesn't get any better than this. And then about 20 minutes later, put the older one to bed, and his little voice, Grandma, Daddy sometimes cuddles with me. And I said, would you like me to do that? And then I go, well, this is just equally as great. And it's just, and when I told Hudson I was retiring, he got all excited. He says, oh, boy, you can come every day. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I won't, but it made me feel just great that he thought that was a swell idea if I did.
You'll probably be there a lot. You know, you recall the interview we did with Leslie Stahl a year or two ago, I guess a couple of years now, and she wrote a book on grandparenting, and she approached that as she would a news story. She, of course, with CBS and 60 Minutes. She researched it very, very heavily and came to the conclusion that hormonally what is happening when you become a grandparent is exactly what happens when you fall in love. That's just exactly the same thing.
Yeah, well, it's just a feeling you can't describe until you do it.
Well, let's listen to more people who want to say goodbye to Mary Edwards. We've heard from your colleagues of the day. How about former colleagues? Let's listen to what they had to say.
This is Bill Rack. I've known Mary since 1995. Mary is truly the hardest working woman in show business, and I'm lucky to have worked with her and been her friend for more than 20 years. Good luck, Mary. I hope you enjoy a very stress-free retirement. You have most definitely earned it.
Hi, Mary. This is Rod Milam. I just want to wish you the very best in your retirement. Thinking of KWMU without Mary Edwards at the helm is absolutely impossible. I started my entire professional career with you back when we were using reel-to-reel, when we switched to CDs, and when we moved on and actually started St. Louis on the Air, as well as Cityscape. I wish you the best, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon in the future.
Hi, Mary. It's Phil Donato. You remember me? I used to work here. Hey, I just wanted to say congratulations on your retirement. Your work ethic and your knowledge and your dedication to the station is unmatched.
Hi, Mary. It's Adam Crane, and some of the best times in my life occurred with you and with Robert Peterson during our 8.5 years together, which we spent in our lovely broadcast booth/lunchroom at Powell Hall, where we created and worked on the live SLSO broadcasts. Congratulations on your retirement. Thank you for everything you've done for St. Louis Public Radio and for St. Louis as a whole. You've helped make St. Louis a better place, and for that, we are all grateful.
This is David Robertson. Mary Edwards is one of the great gems of St. Louis, and her love of music, her devotion to the art, and to the beauty of sound, whether in live situations or on air, is something that makes her a jewel of St. Louis.
Mary, you seemed a little stunned when
Wow,
Maestro Robertson came into the picture.
Yeah, Maestro Robertson. He's probably in Australia right now, and he left St. Louis last May. So,
What as producer of the St. Louis Symphony broadcast, what exactly does that involve, and has that involved?
Well, on the evening of the broadcast, I'm the one that kind of in charge of what goes on. Paul Hendrick and Lee Buckaloo and his crew, they're the ones that do the heavy lifting, where they have 35 mics in Powell Hall. But we set up in the 7th floor lunchroom, and I have a broadcast board. We get a feed from them, and then there are 3 microphones, one occupied by Robert Peterson, the second by the co-host, which up until the end of last year was Adam Crane, and now is Tim Monroe. And then there's a third where we do interviews during intermission. So when we get there at 6 o'clock and we have a rehearsal, I make sure people can pronounce things rightly. And then when it's time to go, they talk about this a lot. I stand there with my hand up in the air because I'm listening back to the station, and I point to Robert when it's time to start. And then turn the mics on and off appropriately. The other thing is that while we do some live interviews during intermission, sometimes they have to be pre-recorded, or we want them to be pre-recorded. So that's where it used to be really labor-intensive, because they would do like a 20-minute interview of which we could play 4.5 minutes. So I would edit the whole thing and then take out the best 4.5 minutes.
If there's anything we can say about you when it comes to audio, you can be fairly finicky. You want to make sure that it's absolutely right.
I'm a little obsessive compulsive.
Well, how do you?
It's something that I learned from my mentor Barry Hufker. He's the one that taught me everything I know about production.
Well, how do you deal with 35 microphones in a symphony hall?
Well, no, I don't have to do that. Paul does that.
But it better be right, or you're going to say something or do something.
Well,
right?
no, he does a great job, but we just get it. I just have one fader on the board, and my job is just to bring the music up and leave it at a set place, and he does all the mixing. So, like I said, that's my part's the easy part. So, I just have to have gentle fades and make sure that the right microphone on is at the right time for the folks in the studio.
As it always is. Let's come back to St. Louis on the Air. How many of these programs do you think you've produced? Do you have any stretch?
I was trying to add that up last night, but it's been. Let's see, since 1996, that's 22 years. And if we do 5 a week, then that adds up to 260 during a year. So multiply that by 22. And I did that, but I forgot it right now.
Yeah.
But and it used to just be one topic per show. But then along the way, especially with Cityscape, we started doing 2 and 3 per show. And then for the last at least 5 years, we've been doing at least 2. So it's a lot of segments.
And your philosophy throughout has been?
To try to bring whatever it is, whether it's the most important topic or just something that that people would find interesting and enlightening. But I've said this ad nauseum, that the best days are the days when we get some kind of feedback that we might have made a difference in somebody's life by something that we did.
By the way, our crack production staff, from whom we've been hearing in these clips that we've been playing, say that the number of programs adds up to 5,720. 5720.
Okay.
Well, I would ask you a question then that is probably unfair, given the fact about 5,700 programs. What about some special moments? What comes to mind when you think back on some of those 5,700 programs?
Well, as I said, the things that are most fulfilling are the ones where we might have made a difference in someone's life. There was one many years ago, we were talking about suicide, and a caller called and said, I can't believe the timing of this program. My mother just called, and my brother's contemplating suicide in Denver. What can I do? And they were able to give him information of what he could do to help out this situation in Denver. I never, of course, knew how that turned out. There's another time when we were talking about the workforce, and a caller called up and said, I've been applying to jobs, and I don't think a live person ever reads these, and we happen to have the hiring manager from BJC there. She gave him her phone number, and then I don't even think it was a week later we got a a really nice card from him saying, "You have changed my life," because I called her, she called back, I got the interview, and I'm starting work next week. And, and my family's grateful.
How about celebrities?
Celebrities? Well, that all depends on your interest. I mean, some of my fun ones are the classical music people. I got to meet, well, this is actually way before the talk show, but I got to meet Jean-Pierre Rampal, and since I'm a flutist, that was a big one. Mm-hmm. Probably in the acting field, Robert Duvall was probably one of the more famous ones. Mm-hmm. But back to the symphony, the very first broadcast that we did in 2010, the soloist was Joshua Bell, and I had met him because we recorded an interview, but the night when we got done with the concert, I came down in the elevator and literally bumped into him, and I said, "How cool is this?" Mm-hmm. Just bumping, because that's a regular occurrence now, as I get to interact with all these famous people over there.
We've had a lot of arts programs and programming during the time that I've been here, and I've learned so much from you about that, because that's, in my resume, that would be the weakest slot. And I've just learned so much, and I'm grateful to you for exposing me to things that I probably otherwise would not have considered.
That's why we make such a great team. Because,
that's right.
You have strengths in so many things, and that's one area that I could help him. But if I could come back to one other thing that I wanted to say about this, may be the most memorable, and it was on the 28th of August in 2014. We did a live town hall meeting in downtown Ferguson, brought in Michelle Martin from NPR to moderate it. And it was the first time that the people of Ferguson and involved in that sad situation had been able to confront the mayor. And the stories that I heard from people coming to the microphone, I thought I had a pretty good handle on what it's like being a black person in this town and how racially divided we are, but it was just the tip of the iceberg. And we did that live and recorded it, and then that turned into a 2-hour special on St. Louis on the Air. But
we all learned a lot. We all learned a lot through Ferguson, and we devoted a lot of time on this program to that story and the fallout from it.
But if I could point out, long before Ferguson, you had put together this series, St. Louis History in Black and White, calling on, when you realized that we had interviews with so many of the civil rights luminaries in St. Louis, some of which had passed on by that time. And that was long before Ferguson. So I'd like to think that we were a little bit on top of the race issue even before all that came to light.
Well, there is a race issue in St. Louis long before Ferguson, and
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, it still remains to a very, very, very large degree. Well, before we play our last clip, I just want to ask you about the changes in technology that you've seen over these years. It's been dramatic, hasn't it?
Well, Rod alluded to that. When I first came here, we had reel-to-reel tape machines, and we did, and we had to have 3 of them. They were very expensive. When we edited, we literally would take a grease pencil, make a mark, cut it with a razor blade, and splice it back together. And that's how we operated for many years. The small announcements that you hear, like promos, were on things that looked like it was the same kind of cartridge that an 8-track was, although it was only a single tape. And those things were just rife for difficulties. We recorded in the field using cassettes. So I'm just thrilled that we finally got to the digital age where, right now, if you have a good computer and some software, you can create much better audio than we did with all that expensive equipment back then.
We're going to say goodbye now, but we're going to have your family participate in this. So let's listen to what they have to say about Mary Edwards' retirement.
Hey, Mom, it's David. My earliest memories are running around the station, hiding in different studios, sneaking into the sound booths while Bob McCabe and Jerry Rhodey were on air, holding my breath so I didn't make a peep. I remember sleeping on your office floor in a sleeping bag while you edited reel-to-reel tapes. I could go on and on with childhood memories of that station, but the big takeaway is I'm so proud of you. For everyone else, if my mom actually goes through with retirement, which she says she's fully committed to, she is doing so because she trusts that her legacy will be continued through St. Louis on the Air.
Hi, Mary. This is Emily. Happy retirement. We are all so excited to be here and celebrate you and your incredible career and the wonderful difference that you have made in St. Louis through your time at the radio station and your time at Webster. And here is to the next chapter. We're so proud of you and so excited for you.
Hi, Grandma. This is Hudson. Me and Fulton love you so much. And I love you so much, too. And I have lots of toys. And the letter on that new fire truck works. So, really works. Happy retirement day.
Well, we can't say it any better than that.
Oh my gosh, I'm speechless.
Yeah, they're such adorable kids, and they're watching you now from behind a big plane of glass and waving. Do you have a final thought? We've got 30, 40 seconds left. Final thought you'd like to leave your longtime audience with?
Well, it's been a wonderful 44 years, and I really think I'm one of the luckiest people on the planet to have had a job that I look forward, every morning when I woke up, look forward to getting to the station and seeing what we could create. And not too many people can say that. It never seemed like work, just because I was having so much fun along the way. And I especially want to thank all you and the rest of the awesome SLOTA team and the rest of the people here at St. Louis Public Radio, because I've worked with some wonderful people over the years.
And these people have worked with you, and that's been a wonderful experience, Mary Edwards. Godspeed in the next chapter.
Thank you.
Mary Edwards, retiring after 44 years with St. Louis Public Radio. That does it for today. Monday on St. Louis on the Air, we'll have a holiday rebroadcast of my conversation with Daniel Estrin, NPR's international correspondent in Jerusalem. Archive versions of past St. Louis on the Air programs available for download or podcast at stlpublicradio.org/STLonair. St. Louis on the Air is produced by Alex Hoyer and Evie Hemphill with production assistance from Aaron Dorr, Caitlin Lally, and Charlie McDonald. Executive producer, Mary Edwards. St. Louis on the Air, a production of St. Louis Public Radio, 90.7 KWMU. Thank you for listening. I'm Don Marsh.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.